Hello and welcome back to the Bright Light Wellness YouTube channel. Thank you so much for being here. I'm your host, Vanessa Baldwin, and I want to just do a quick chat with you guys on this next YouTube about acidity versus alkalinity. You hear a lot of talk about this. We need to eat more alkaline food. We need to have less acidity. Acidity is more inflammation. Maybe drink alkaline water. And I want to just chat a little bit about that kind of myth and what it really means to be acidic versus alkaline. So first of all, alkaline water is a really not a great idea. And the reason why I don't believe alkaline water is a good idea is because your stomach actually needs to be very acidic. Because when your stomach is acidic, it actually absorbs and digests its nutrients better, and it actually breaks down, all your food better. And then you're going to have a better job of doing digestion, right? You need digestive fire to actually break down nutrients like proteins, fats, carbohydrates, and you need your stomach to be acidic to do that. So you don't want to be alkalizing, our stomach with drinking too much water, especially alkaline water. So that's number one. Now, the second thing, I want to bring your attention to this acidity versus alkalinity, and I want to use this more as, I want us to think of it more as in our electron status, okay? There's a great book to read if you want to learn more about this. It's called Healing is Voltage by Jerry Tennant. But our acidity versus our alkaline is really about our electron-proton status or balance or our redox and how it's working in the mitochondria. Okay, I said a lot there. What does that really mean? So when our electrons are flowing in the mitochondria, we're gathering a lot of electrons, and we'll talk about in a minute where we gather electrons from. But we're gathering a lot of electrons from our environment, and we're using those electrons efficiently in our mitochondria, which depends on how well our mitochondria are working. We are going to have a naturally more alkaline environment where it needs to be, because certain environments don't need to be more alkaline. Okay, we'll talk about that in a minute. But you're going to have a naturally more alkaline environment in those areas and less inflammation. And when you have too much protons getting in, or you're too much proton rich, right? It's a balance between protons and electrons. You're going to be more acidic. Okay, we actually want certain environments to be acidic, like I mentioned before, like our stomach. Also, if you're a female, your urogenitalia, especially your vaginal wall, needs to be very acidic because it has to keep out bacteria, even our mouth, right? Because that's going to help us break down those kinds of things. So we want it to not be too alkaline. We want it to be more acidic. So the body will naturally know how to balance it if your mitochondria and your electrons are working appropriately. So when we are gathering a lot of energy from our environment and avoiding things that steal our electrons, our mitochondria are going to work better, faster, stronger, and we won't have too much overgrowth of protons. When we have too much protons, this actually means that we are more acidic. That's protons, right? We have too much protein. So when we're losing electrons, we're more inflammation, we're more acidic in the areas that shouldn't be acidic. Okay, so I want us to reframe our thinking about this and how that actually happens. So how do we keep our electrons flowing well? How do we keep in your mitochondria, these are little organelles inside your cells, there's what's called an electron transport chain, and the electrons have to move through these respiratory proteins from one to the next. There's 5 of them. And at the end, at step 4, they first make water, exclusions on water or cellular hydration, and then they make ATP, which is your cellular energy production. And the electrons have to move through this. When you don't have enough electrons, or you're losing electrons, or the spacing in your mitochondria are too large, you get these things where electrons are falling off the electron transport chain and they're getting lost, and then they call that a reactive oxygen species. And we have too many protons, but we need a balance, like this positive charge versus this negative charge. So we want to, we'll go back to the positive versus negative in a minute, but we want to have more electrons flowing in. So how do we get more electrons flowing in? I'm getting electrons right now from the photoelectric effect by sitting outside in the sunlight. This actually brings in a net negative charge, okay, but more electrons in my body. It gives me more energy. When we put our bare feet on the ground, or, we walk on the sand, or we put our hands in the dirt, or we lay in the grass, or we lay, whenever we touch nature through earthing, we are actually gathering energy from our environment. Again, we're gathering more energy, and that actually helps our body have better electron flow or better net negative charge. We also gather energy or electron flow from movement. That's the piezoelectric effect. We also gather it from connection. And of course, we gather electrons from food. Food is just energy or electrons and protons that we break down, right? So if we're eating whole, good, real quality food that's, from local and seasonal, we're going to gather more energy from those foods versus ultra processed foods, right? How do we lose energy from our environment? Well, we live indoors, we're under artificial lights, we're surrounded by a lot of non-native electromagnetic frequencies like Wi-Fi and Bluetooth, or wearing wearables like smartwatches and earbuds, right? These are draining our energy. All of those things, fluorescent lighting, bright screens at night, poor circadian rhythm, eating poor quality food like processed and packaged food, which have a lot of deuterium in them. I have a video on deuterium. You can go back and listen to that, which will then be, making our mitochondria slow down. We live in indoor lifestyle where, and never giving our body the hormetic stresses of heat and cold, so the mitochondria can actually get stronger and adapt to those environments. We have lack of movement, we have poor breathing. There are so many things. Poor sleep quality due to circadian rhythm dysfunction, not aligning with the natural rhythms of the sun, eating foods out of season, eating at improper meal timing. These are all going to affect your electron status. Glyphosate, fluoride, toxins in your environment, your emotions, your emotional environment, these all are going to affect your level of stress. These are all going to affect your electron status in your body. So you want to avoid the things that are going to steal our energy, especially artificial lights, non-native EMFs, glyphosate, fluoride, anything that's going to destroy the mitochondria. Suppressive medications. That's why I'm such a big proponent of homeopathy, because we can not only use it for chronic situations, but acute situations. So you don't have to rely on Western and suppressive medications, right? Which will then damage our mitochondria and make our body, struggle with its electron flow. You are really an electrical being that thrives on a net negative charge. So what that means is when our bodies have more net negative charge, that's actually a good thing for our body. It means we have more electrons, and it means we're more alkaline where we need to be alkaline. And when our body is running more on this positive charge, that's the protons. The negative charge is the minus sign, right? Like a battery, you're like a battery. The negative charge is the minus sign, the electron, and the positive side is the proton, or the positive, okay? When we have too many abundance of protons, that's when we're more acidic. That's when we have more disease. And that's when when we are more acidic, we do have more disease. We do have less cellular energy. So we want to run on a negative charge and not on a positive charge. And we want to have more of a net negative charge in our body. And we gather the net negative charge, like I said, from sunlight, from earthing, from movement, from proper circadian rhythms, from using things like homeopathy or energy medicines that can tweak out the blockages or the bricks or the knots in our field and have energy flowing better. We want our energy to be able to flow, and these bricks or these knots or kinks in our system, can come and not allow our energy to flow. And that's when we use things like homeopathy, and that's when we use things like myofascial release or rhythmic movements that I teach, or EFT tapping or acupuncture. There's all modalities that you can use to remove those knots that are blocking the energy in your system from flowing. Okay. So I want you to not think about, okay, I've got to eat all the fruits and vegetables to be more alkaline, or I got to drink the alkaline water. We want to fix the energy balance in the body by gathering more electrons and removing the things that will steal our electrons and make us more and running on a positive charge, or more, too much positive charge in our body, which is more acidic. And certain areas of our body do need to be alkaline, and the body is wise and will, if you're giving it the right inputs, it will naturally balance that for you. You don't have to drink alkaline water or eat more fruits and vegetables to be more alkaline. It will naturally do it. Now, there are times in the year where you do want to eat more fruits and vegetables, and that's when they're seasonally appropriate. And that's because the body is naturally can handle those foods at that time. You can learn more about how to eat a seasonal local ancestral diet by going and purchasing my very affordable diet webinar, which also goes into not only just diet, like what to eat. It teaches you like meal timing and how to eat with the seasons and the rhythm of the sun, and also is a recipe ebook, which I have over 150 recipes now, which I'm always adding more to. So it's kind of like once you get into it, you kind of have it for life, and you always get updates, which I think is really awesome. I'm so glad I did it that way. And then I also want to let you know too, is that when you eat local and seasonal, this does actually make a difference on the electron flow or the negative charge, because an apple that you say, well, let's use a strawberry, the strawberry that's growing right over there in my garden that I'm going to pick and eat right away, it's going to have more negative charge. It's going to be more energized from the sun, and it's going to be more, have more exclusions on water than, say, if I bought a strawberries at the food store that have been sitting on a shelf, who have now lost their negative charge, because food and water 60 hours away from food and water 60 hours away from its natural source has lost its negative charge, and now it has a positive charge. And now your body has to do that work of switching that. So it takes a lot of energy. So say you get strawberries from the food store, maybe they're organic, great. They don't have glyphosate on them, hopefully. I don't really know how much I can trust that, but you get those strawberries and then you want to eat those strawberries, right? Well, they're 60 hours away from nature. So they actually now have a positive charge. So what your body will do, it's more proton rich. It will take that food and it will have to convert it to more electrons so it can use it as usable energy in the mitochondria, because food is really just energy and information. So we'll have to use that energy and information. Okay. So that takes a lot of work. It takes a lot of energy for your body to do that. So eating local, as opposed to like that you grow, is a much better source. Another way to help fix that is by getting the MEA water device that is linked in the show notes below. And it's also in my free product guide, so go grab that. But it's a water device that I use. We actually interviewed the owner. His name is Robert Goulet, and it's on our podcast, and I have videos on it as well. You can scroll back into my YouTube channel. But it uses he uses special magnets and vortexing to take your water and turn it from a positive charge back into a negative charge. So I highly recommend it. But I also soak my fruits and vegetables in it. I also feed that water to my plants. So I'm giving them more negative charge. I'm making them more alkaline in the right way. I'm making them less acidic. I'm making them healthier. I'm giving them more voltage, right? And that's supporting them. And now when I eat that fruit, say that I bought at the food store, and if I soaked it in this water, now it's going to have more of that net negative charge, which is going to allow, as long as I eat it within 60 minutes, which will allow my body to be able to use that energy quickly and not have to convert it. And it will make, your body won't have to use up energy to convert it, especially with water. I drink water. I always drink the negative charged water. I spin all the water for my family, and that makes a huge difference where the body doesn't have to do a lot of converting that positively charged water back into a negative charge. And even a reverse osmosis will have to do that. So you want to give that water that structure and that negative charge. And my discount code there is Bright Light Wellness. You can go grab one. He has a couple of different bottle top spinners that are really amazing. And it's MEA water, magnetized, energized, and activated water. So that really helps cut down on how much acidity will be in your body just by doing that. And then not like acidity in the wrong way, acidity in the right way, because it's giving the body what it actually needs and has to run on. It runs on net negative charge. So yeah, I hope this has been helpful. If you want to learn more, you can work with me with one-to-one coaching. You could work with me, through personalized healthcare plans. You can just work with me with coaching in general. You could, of course, book in with homeopathy. Homeopathy is a great way to restore the electron function of the body and help it be more alkaline, because what it actually does is it actually does affect your mitochondria and your electrons, and improves your redox and helps your body work faster and better and stronger. Like, it improves your mitochondria function because it's taking away those energetic blockages, those knots or those bricks. It's removing those one by one that we place on it through, our years of living, these environmental triggers that have, triggered things to happen. Whoa, sorry. Outdoor living, giant wasp. So yeah, you can work with me in all these capacities. I am taking one-to-one clients, but I want just you to know that you are an electrical being that runs on negative charge, and that negative charge is what depends on whether you are alkaline or whether you are acidic. And acidic environments are where pathogens grow more, right? That we have more health issues. So we do want to be more alkaline, but it's not about drinking alkaline water. It's not about eating too much fruits and vegetables, especially the wrong season, because then you're going to build up deuterium and you're not going to be able to manage that deuterium and that glucose because you won't have sunlight. So there's a lot of nuanced conversations here to get into. So, but what I want you to understand is it's all about gathering electrons and mitigating the things that will steal our electrons. And if we do that, we do those two things, we are going to be in a lot healthier state and be more naturally alkaline where we need to be alkaline, but acidic where we still need to be acidic. The body will naturally balance when you give it the appropriate signals and messages and supports that it needs, okay? So get outside more, get in the sunshine more. If you don't know how to use sunlight as medicine, you can get my Get Your Light Bright webinar and ebook, and that will teach you how to balance your circadian rhythms, which is really the foundation of health, and then also teach you how to use sunlight as medicine to support your health and your healing. And if you're on a chronic illness journey, please use sunlight as medicine. And then also, you want to, be in touch with nature, swim in natural waters, walk bare feet on the earth, all of those things. And then you want to have more connection, move every day. Our bodies are not meant to be stagnant. We need to move. And then you also want to just avoid those things that are stealing those electrons: alcohol, processed and packaged foods, foods out of season, fluoride, glyphosate, other toxins in your environment, non-native EMFs, artificial lights. You want to avoid those things so your energy system can work better, and then you're naturally alkaline versus acidic. So alkaline is you have enough negative charge, you have enough electron voltage for your cells to run efficiently. That's alkaline. That's negative charge. That's less inflammation. When you're running on too much protons, you're more acidic. You are having too many electron stealers in your life that are stealing your voltage. They're stealing your energy. It's all about energy balancing. That's the key to health. Having enough voltage, having enough cellular energy for your body to do everything it needs to do. So if this conversation is intriguing, it's bringing up things you've never heard before, please check out my other, I have tons of other videos teaching you how to understand all this information. Check out my podcast, the Quantum Health Connection podcast. And also you can also book in a clarity call with me, ask questions. I'm open and willing to receive those. I like supporting people. So yeah, please let me know if you have any questions. And I hope this was supportive and it helps you understand a little bit more about maintaining your battery, right? It's really, you are an electrical being and you run on negative charge and you have to plug in your battery every day, and nature is how we plug in our battery. And there's a lot of nuance to that conversation that I can support you with in understanding. So I hope that's helpful. Have an incredible day. Check out my webinars, check out, my website, brightlightwellnesscoach.com. I have a lot of offerings that can support you in understanding this information. And also my Rebalance Your Rhythms course or my cellular hydration course are also really, really supportive in understanding this information in more depth. So have an incredible day, and I will chat with you guys on the next video.